Good morning, Carolina Village, and welcome to your Village Vitality series. My name is Aline, and I am so pleased to guide you through this class today. And if you are joining for the first time, um, just note the equipment that we have out. Really, all you truly need is a sturdy chair that won't slide around on the floor, and preferably without arms, because we will be doing some movement side to side in the chair that an arm rest will kind of hinder that movement, but it is still possible. Now, I do have a yoga mat as well as some yoga blocks. Again, those are not necessary, but they're wonderful little additional tools if you can purchase them. Now, with the mat, you really only need that if you have a hard flooring. Um, it might actually be a little strange to have it on carpet, especially if your carpet's really plush and thick. Um, and with the yoga blocks, again, you don't need those. However, there's such cool tools to have that can make a lot of our stretching a little more effective. But anything that we use, that I use blocks for, I will, of course, demonstrate without, because I know the majority of you probably don't have those laying around the house. But I encourage you to order some online, or typically any store that has like a sporting goods department will carry those. You can occasionally even find them at TJ Maxx or something like that, but that's a little hit or miss. All right, so let's go ahead and have a seat. Take the shoes and socks off too if you haven't already done that. And looking at our stress relief for today, I want to bring back square breathing, even though we did that in a recent class. It is such a powerful technique, such an easy and relatively accessible breathing exercise as well. So with that breathing technique, we observe a 4-part breath. So inhaling, holding the inhale, exhaling, and holding the exhale. Now, if you have issues with breath retention, it doesn't feel good to you, it makes you feel lightheaded or dizzy, then I want you to either shorten that portion of the breathing, or you can eliminate it and just focus on equal ratio breathing. All right. So let's also just want to mention we're going to get real deep into the hips today. So be prepared for some interesting emotions to come out. A lot of times when we do a lot of hip opening and stretching, you might feel anger, frustration, extreme happiness. The spectrum is very broad for sensations that might bubble up. And so just a little heads up on that. Or you might feel nothing, and that's okay, except for stretching. So for our breathing exercise this morning and our centering, let's actually support ourselves in the chair. So I want to focus today mostly on stretching, getting into a relaxation state. We will still be strengthening, so don't think it's going to be a super easy chill class today. But let's recline back so that we can really focus on the breathing and not have to worry about focusing on our posture. So scooting back in your chair so that the back is supporting you. You're still trying to maintain a nice open chest and rib cage. So just make sure that you're not scooting back like this in your chair. You want to try to open up. And hands can just rest on the lap or wherever they feel comfortable and you're not holding tension. And so go ahead and, again, feet too can just be wherever feels the most comfortable for you. Just try to relax those legs. And go ahead and let your eyes close. And just see what happens when you close those eyes. Where does your attention go? Does anything change in the body, like your breathing, your posture. And what does your normal breathing feel like today? Easeful, or maybe challenging, or somewhere in between? And when you're ready, let's begin to bring concentrated effort to the breath by beginning that square breathing technique. And so you'll do a 4 count or a count of 4 for each of the 4 um, sections or segments of our breathing. And remember, if a 4 count seems daunting to you, you can just count faster. So instead of counting like a 1, 2, 3, 4, you may count more like 1, 2, 3, 4, or anywhere, really any pace you want to match it to your ability today. So let's begin with a 4 count inhale through the nostrils, trying to have the belly rise, just knowing you're giving a deep diaphragmatic breath there. Retain that inhale, so pause without exhaling for about 4 counts. Try not to grip or tighten the jaw or anything like that. Exhale for 4 counts through the nostrils. And then hold after that exhale without inhaling for 4 counts. Again, this might be the most challenging part, is retaining the breath after exhale. So you can eliminate that, shorten it, or really ideally try to keep it. So again, it's a 4 count inhale, 4 count hold, 4 count exhale, and 4 count hold. Continue to cycle through your breathing this way. And as you breathe and count, see if you can still observe how the body feels. And if you're starting to fold forward at all, try to keep that chest open, the ribs open, to really allow, in terms of your posture, for the deepest breath possible. Continue to breathe. 4 count inhale, 4 count hold, 4 count exhale, and 4 count hold. And realize that you can always adjust your pace mid-practice. So if you started out counting fast and you think that you could probably go a little slower, try it out. As long as you're able to keep the body relaxed and you're not gripping the teeth or the eyebrows or the shoulders while you're retaining the breath, then you keep going, keep practicing, keep pushing the pace in terms of slowing it down. But if at any point your body gives you a signal to stop, such as lightheadedness, dizziness, yawning more than just one time, those are our typical physiological cues that our body is ready to stop whatever we're doing and move on. But if you're not getting those cues, go ahead and cycle through about 3 to 5 more breaths here. keep being mindful of the posture, trying to keep everything relaxed and open. Go ahead and finish up the breath cycle that you're working on right now. And after your exhale, or after your breath retention, after exhale, go ahead and release the technique. Release the arms by your sides. You can blink the eyes open or keep them closed, but do sit up and come to the edge of your chair. And find good squared off alignment here with the knees about hip width apart and the heels under the knees. Again, you can accomplish that without opening the eyes, or at least get close enough. And we'll start out with a neck release first this morning. Grabbing hold of underneath the chair or on the chair leg with your left hand. Go ahead and lean just slightly over towards the right. Drop the right ear to the right shoulder. And then just begin to cycle a little bit here of where the head goes. So you can try to press chin towards shoulder, maybe chin a little more towards the chest, and anywhere in between here. Allow the head to move though. So try not to stay in any one spot unless your body is just like, please hold it there. You might find a really good sweet spot somewhere along the stretching. Oh, like I hit one right here. So I'm just going to hold here for a couple breaths until I feel like I've kind of stretched out that tension. And then I'm going to move on and see if I find another, like right here, sweet spot. So go ahead and just slowly move that head around over towards that right side and see if you can find any sweet spots for yourself. Just taking a couple more breaths here. Going back to this one. And when you feel like you've stretched out that left side of the neck pretty good, on an inhale, lift that head back to center. Relax that left hand. And let's do the same thing on the right side. So gripping underneath or on the chair leg, kind of just depends on the way your chair is put together. You're going to lean just slightly now over towards the left. Start out just dropping the left ear towards the left shoulder, and you may want to stay there. That might be a sweet spot for you right there. Or you may again want to just slowly start to move the chin around. So dropping the chin more towards the chest, more towards the shoulder, maybe dropping more ear down. You can even do ear down towards the chest. So again, even though we all have the same muscle groups, our joints are all different and our attachment points are all a little bit different. The length of our muscles are, of course, different depending on how long your spine and your neck and your legs and all those other body parts are. So it's going to be a little bit different for everyone. And you may find a sweet spot on one side and it's the same on the other side, or possibly not. So just experiment a little bit here. Try to keep the rest of the body relaxed. And feel free to pause for a couple breaths if you do hit any spots where you just want to stop and hold. This type of stretching is great to do anytime that you're sitting more than an hour, really more than 30 minutes. You're probably starting to build tension in the head, neck, and shoulders, and this can really help relieve that. When you're ready on an inhale, come back up to center. Recenter the body. Let's start to work into the shoulders a little bit here next. So on an inhale, lift those arms up and overhead. Exhale, squeeze the elbows back and down. Squeezing the shoulder blades together, opening that chest forward. Bringing those elbows back to parallel, or sorry, not parallel, but in line with the shoulders. Squeeze the elbows and palms towards each other. And then open those arms back out and release the arms down. We're going to do that about 2 more times. So again, inhaling up, reaching as high up through the fingertips as you can. On an exhale, drawing the shoulder blades together, elbows towards each other as if you could fold them back and touch them behind you. And then releasing and squeezing elbows and palms together. On an inhale, release that. And exhale, arms down. Let's do that one more time. Press into the feet, lift up through the crown of the head. So we want to make sure we're not losing our posture here, even though we're focusing on other things. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, elbows down. Squeeze the shoulder blades. Powerful activation here. Press the shoulders down. And bringing those elbows back in alignment with the shoulders. On an exhale, now squeeze front. And slowly start to release that. Stretch those arms out and relax them down. All right. If those feet, legs are in danger of falling asleep a little bit, go ahead and shift around in your seat. We're going to do one more thing with the torso and upper body, so we won't be moving the legs very much. So maneuver around if you need to. For this one, if you have blocks, go ahead and bring them out to either side of your chair. So we'll be doing a side bend first. And for those of you without blocks, you will reach down the leg of your chair for support. So everyone, let's go ahead and inhale that left arm up. On your exhale, you're going to start to reach towards that right side. So either my hand is on the leg of my chair, or my hand can come to the block. And so stretching all along that left side of the rib cage, really try to keep that chest open. So we don't want this to happen where the chest is moving down. Try to keep it open. And taking one more deep breath here. On your exhale, start to round forward. That right hand can kind of come to the thighs. Reach forward through those left fingertips. Slowly start to open out to the left side. Open that left arm out. Restack the spine here, moving into a gentle twist. Don't do anything too crazy. That right hand can come along the outer edge of the right thigh. Maybe that left hand is now coming back to the chair. Drop the shoulders down. Try to open that chest over to the left side. You might even feel a little pop, releasing some tension in the spine. Deep inhale here. And on your exhale, start to release the twist. Keep that right hand where it is. So we're going to attempt to cross the left arm over the right. And try to squeeze those elbows together. Start to round the back. Press through the backs of the shoulders. Drop the chin to the chest. So this is another great stretch to relieve tension in the majority of people hold tension in the neck and shoulders. And so we released the neck already. Now we're trying to release the shoulders and shoulder blades. So dropping that chin down. Getting that nice stretch here. Again, the higher you try to cross the elbows, the deeper you'll stretch. So to back off in terms of intensity, loosen the arms a little bit. Don't cross them so high. And from here, we're going to come up and do a couple rounds of cat and cow, but we're going to try to keep the arms crossed. So you have a couple options. You can lift up, try to grab towards the shoulders. If you have a little more flexibility and you've got that top elbow crossed over the other, you can try to reach the backs of the hands towards each other. Gosh, my thick sweater's kind of getting in the way here. You can even try to grab the thumb of that left hand. So just whatever you can manage. You're going to inhale, press the belly forward, lift the elbows, lift the chin. Just don't let the head drop all the way back. And on your exhale, try to send those elbows to the belly button. Tuck that chin in, round the back. You can even come into a bit of a forward fold here. So inhaling, cow, lifting, and exhaling, cat. Closing down. Take about 2 more cycles here. And on your next inhale, just lift up to neutral, unwind those arms. Roll out the shoulders if you need to. And let's do that on the other side. Just get really nice and open in the shoulders and back. So moving into our side bend towards the left now. Release that left hand down to the leg of your chair. Right arm lifts up on an inhale. And on your exhale, start to move into that side bend. Remember, chest stays open. So maybe that hand is coming along the leg of the chair, or maybe you're able to reach your block if you have a block. I mean, you can even, if you have, you're using dining room chairs, you could even place a chair on either side of you and kind of use them as blocks. Taking another breath here, reach out through those fingertips any amount further. And on an exhale, start to reach forward through those fingertips. As you start to reach out to the right, you're starting to lift and lengthen through the spine again, and exhaling into a twist. Again, don't push it. Don't try to crank as far as you can in this twist. It's our first twist potentially of the whole day, so give yourself some slack. Try to relax those shoulders down. Focus on the chest opening over towards the right side. If it feels okay, you can move your whole spine into the twist by turning your chin over to the right as well. And just taking a breath or 2 more here. Letting your spine enjoy the benefits of twisting, which are numerous, but the main one being nutrient uptake and fluid uptake into those intervertebral discs between our vertebrae all along the spine. Take 1 more deep inhale here. On your exhale, start to release the twist, but keep this left hand where it is. Cross the right arm over and maneuver into that nice shoulder blade opening stretch. This is working to stretch the rhomboid muscles, which connect our shoulder blades to our spine on either side. Those muscles tend to get really tight. And so, again, the higher you cross those elbows, the deeper the stretch. Tuck that chin, round forward. Again, you're going to be experimenting here with the shape of your body to maximize the stretch for you. And when you're ready, On an inhale, start to lift up, but keep those arms crossed. See what you can manage, maybe grabbing towards the shoulders, maybe just pressing the hands towards one another, maybe grabbing the thumb, or some folks can even like kind of press their palms together. Again, a lot of it depends on the shape of your body and, of course, flexibility. So let's take about 4 to 5 cat and cow breaths here. So inhaling, belly presses forward, chin lifts, elbows lift. On your exhale, opposite shape. So you're rounding forward. Those elbows, regardless of how you have your arms, will move towards the belly button. Chin tucks. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. Take about 3 more of those breaths. Move at your pace. Wonderful benefits to the spine, moving it through all of its range of motion, both flexion, extension, side bending, which is lateral flexion, and twisting or rotation. Your next inhale, come up, unwind, but unbind the arms. And let's get to moving with the lower body now. So if you have those blocks out, go ahead and just get them out of your way here. We're going to do some toe taps to really start to get into the hips and the muscles in the hip area. So sitting up tall at the edge of your seat, you can bring hands to kind of grip the sides of your chair, hands on thighs. If you want to work the arms and shoulders more, hands can be out in front of you. And you're going to tap out and tap back in with that right leg. So you're deciding here, do you want the practice to be more active? Do you want the practice to be a little more passive? Totally up to you. So arms can be up or down. You can even have arms up overhead, arms out to the sides. You can be doing little pulses here. So it's all about what you want to get out of it. And this also works your coordination a little bit too. So keep tapping, keep breathing, doing whatever you want to be doing with those arms. Let's do about 3 more taps. 2. Here's 3, leave it out. Let's get a little groin and hip stretch. So you can stretch straight forward. You can kind of move a little more into a side bend or a little bit of a hybrid. This I enjoy personally. I feel like it really gets into the groin and hip a little bit more for me. So again, decide what feels best for you. For some of you, this might not feel great on the back. You might want to either stick to just side bending or just forward bending. And maybe you're pressing against that thigh to help open this leg out and increase the stretch. So play around with it. A lot of self-experimentation here. Again, this one doesn't really matter what it looks like. You're looking to feel the sensation in this inner thigh, maybe this hip, and get that good stretch and opening started here. On an inhale, slowly come on up. Go ahead and bring that foot back in to the middle. And let's slide that heel in just a little bit so that the knee is in line with the toes. And we're just going to work through some ankle mobility. So just coming up to the toes and then coming back down. Now, if you have osteoporosis and it's pretty extreme, then you just want to stick with this, coming to the toes and coming down. If you don't have that issue, then you may want to come across the top of the toes, any amount, and just stretch the top of that foot. It's super rare that we ever, in our natural movements, stretch the top of the foot. but it's a wonderful thing to try to do. And so even just doing this, you may feel that stretch right here across the top of the foot and ankle. But if you can, perhaps rolling over the toes just a little bit. And we're not putting much weight into it. In fact, you control the level of stretch by how much you press into the top of that foot. Let's go ahead and do that a couple more times. Try to maintain upright posture here. One more. And relax. Go ahead and bring those feet back into alignment. Note differences between the hips, the feet, the whole lower body. And let's move on. Toe taps on the left side. Remember your options. Arms can just hold, hold, hold. Cactus arms even. You can be pulsing for even an extra bit of added challenge. It's up to you. I think I'm going to go chill for this next one. So again, we're tapping out and in. Fairly quick, but you do want to pause just for a little second in each position. And you're trying to open that knee out as far as you can to that left side. So you're working here on not just mobility and flexibility in the hip, but also strengthening those external rotator muscles in the hip, because they're having to work to push that leg out, especially if you're trying to push out as far as you can. Whatever you're doing with the arms or upper body, just try to stay lifted up through the crown of the head. So core is a bit engaged here. You're not just super passive in the upper body, even if the arms are down. Let's do two more. Out, in, out, and hold it out. So bring that foot down, and then go ahead and come into whatever variation of a little groin stretch here that you would like. So you might want to just come over to the side. You might want to do a hybrid like I prefer. And again, I am pushing away with my forearm here. So I'm kind of pushing back to help increase my stretch. Or you might want to come just straight forward and use your hand here on the thigh to kind of press that leg away from you. So try to pick what feels best for not just the hip and groin, but also for your back. And if you're lucky and all of these feel great on your back, then you've got lots of options. Take about 2 more breaths wherever you are. And slowly start to come out of the stretch on an inhale. Bring that leg back to center. And go ahead and slide that heel back. Heel will probably lift off the ground a little bit, but try to press it down so that you can kind of see my knee is in line more or less with my toes. And so again, I'm going to come just up to a high point and back down. Again, even though I'm looking down at my foot, I'm trying to stay upright and I'm not doing this, even though that's tempting. And if you can and don't have osteoporosis, then you're going to curl over. The reason why I'm being very careful for those of you with osteoporosis is all these muscle or the bones in the feet and the toes are some of your more delicate bones. Same with the hands. And so just to err on the side of caution, you don't want to fracture any of those. I don't want you to, at least. And so just enjoying that little stretch across the top of the foot. You're just pausing there for maybe 2-3 seconds. This is more of a dynamic range of motion type stretch. But you can hold it a little longer if you'd like, but I wouldn't do more than about 10 seconds with that top of the foot stretch. Yeah. Let's do one more. I haven't done this stretch in a while. The next time you bring that foot down, that's your last one. So go ahead and bring those feet back into alignment. Let's take a vinyasa. So we're just going to take a breath to fold forward. We're going to hold for about 3 to 5 breaths in that forward fold, and then we'll come up for a back bend. So if you do have blocks, go ahead and grab hold of them. It's much easier to hold them as you come down into your forward fold than to try to grab them after the fact. Or if you don't want to hold them on your way down, you can always just kind of place them here by your feet. In fact, that's what I'll probably do. So inhaling the arms up, exhale, fold forward, either arms up, out, or hands down for more support. You're trying to keep length in the spine as long as you can until you totally release forward. Maybe hands come to blocks for support if you're not able to touch the ground. Or even if you are able to touch the ground, one of my favorite things to do is reach those arms out. So my chest and tummy is supported on my thighs here, and I'm able to just lengthen and traction my spine by reaching those arms forward. Let your head relax wherever you end up. And keep in mind you can send those feet a little bit wider to make more room for your torso and your abdomen, and or to help you stretch deeper. So if you're pretty flexible, then widening those feet allows that torso to come down below the level of the thighs and just lets you get a deeper stretch. Relax that head, maybe roll the shoulders a couple times. Let's get ready to come up. So if you're in a position similar to mine with the blocks out, just walk those blocks back in. So slowly start to come up, start to re-engage the back. You might want to bring those feet back to hip width apart. Just send those blocks just maybe to the sides for now, or you can hold them as you come up. So you're going to inhale to come up. Try to flatten and lengthen the spine as early as you can in that lift. Coming all the way up. If you have those blocks, go ahead and release them now. And we're going to reach those arms back, grab the sides of the chair, press forward through the belly, through the ribs, through the chest, lift the chin for your back bend. Take one more breath. And on your exhale, release. All right, next movement. I almost hate to do it because I feel like we're getting really relaxed here with our stretching, but I do want to do a little bit of abdominal and core engagement, so the whole deal, the whole core, and some hip flexor strengthening with a little bit of a pike movement. So hands come back behind you. Let's straighten that left leg out. You're going to keep that length in the spine. And on an exhale, you're going to tuck that knee in and tuck the chest forward, but no rounding. So again, keep length. Inhale, either the heel comes all the way back down, or if you want more challenge, the leg hovers. It could even just hover 2 inches from the mat, but the higher up, the more challenging it'll be. So again, you're exhaling to that kind of pike tucking. Inhaling, either heel all the way down or just heel out. Notice I'm doing pursed lip breathing. Wonderful technique to use to extra engage the abdominals and also to make sure you are still breathing. Let's do about 3 more. 2. Last one. everyone bring that heel down. Go ahead and sit up. And let's move forward for our hamstring stretch. So again, if you've got your blocks, bring them with you. And everyone, you're going to hinge forward, keeping the spine long. Really trying to press that tailbone out and back. So like I could lift my tailbone up to the ceiling, which I can't, but that's the feeling I want to go for. If you've got blocks, awesome. You can bring them on either side of that left leg. If you don't, still awesome. You can bring your forearms down to the thigh. It just, again, it depends on how far you're able to fold forward. Some of you may be right up here, and that's also awesome. So just coming down however far you can manage and feels challenging yet doable. And remember, those of you who are a little more flexible, you've got options with your block height. So you can turn them even down to basically almost touching the ground. But it doesn't really matter how far down you get. I mean, that can be a goal to eventually touch your toes or whatnot, but we really want to focus on feeling the stretch in the back of that left thigh. So hanging out here for a couple more breaths. Wonderful, juicy stretches today. On an inhale, slowly start to come back up. Maybe carrying the blocks with you if that's accessible. But of course, hands can come along this thigh to help lift you up as well. And with that left leg now, let's open it out to the side for gate pose. So I'm just kind of dragging it along the ground. You may, depending on your chair, want to shift over to the left to just free up that left hip a little bit. We do want to try to have that left leg in line maybe with the leg of your chair. So you're trying to create a 90-degree angle here with your two legs. And that left hand can come to the chair behind you, reaching out towards gate pose. Again, here though, if you have a block, you can have that hand come to your block either behind or in front of the leg. However, try not to fold forward at all in the chest if you bring that block to the front. You want to still try to maintain that open chest. Should be feeling a stretch here, maybe in the hip and inner thigh, definitely along this whole side. And if having that arm up ahead is above your head is too much for you, you can always do this stretch with the arm down. You're still getting good benefit. You're just not stretching up into the arm as much. And on an inhale, go ahead and start to come up. You can carry that block with you. And from here, we're going to move into a high lunge position. So I'm going to keep that leg where it is, if possible. That's the ideal goal. And I'm going to shift, pivot onto these toes here, and just shift in my chair to try to square the hips down towards the ground. All right. So again, we're focusing mostly on stretching here, not so much on activating and muscle engagement. So if you do need to like relax this back quad, go for it, as long as you're still feeling a stretch in the front of the hip. That's our main goal. You can even add a bit of a twist here if that's accessible to you and if it feels good to the spine. Because for a lot of folks, that's going to just really help increase the stretch in the front of that hip. I told you we're getting all into the hips today. Front, sides, backs, and inner thighs even. All angles. None of those muscles can hide today. We're stretching them all. Take one more inhale wherever you are. On your exhale, go ahead and release, coming back towards the center. Coming back to the edge of your chair, finding your seated mountain pose again. And we're going to cycle through that on the other side. So moving into our vinyasa. Again, you might want to take the blocks with you, or you might want to set them on either side of your foot or ankles. Inhaling those arms up and exhaling to fold forward. Releasing in that forward fold here. Make sure to let that head go. Folks tend to do a good job releasing everything but the neck. So they'll kind of keep that head lifted. And you really don't need to do that unless you get dizzy dropping the head. That's a great reason not to. But if that's not an issue for you, release that head. Maybe shake it yes and no. And then just let it dangle down. And again, with your blocks, lots of options here. Taking some deep breaths. If you don't have blocks and you are pretty flexible, can touch the ground, and you want to go deeper, maybe try grabbing the legs of your chair. And the further down you grab, the deeper into the fold it will pull you. Couple more breaths here. Your sinus cavities might fill a little bit. That's normal, especially if you have allergies this time of year. Start to consider coming up now. So if you're grabbing the legs, you're releasing that grab. If you have blocks, you're walking those blocks in. Start to re-engage the spine, lift the head and shoulders, but don't lift with that head. So keep that gaze down and out. Slowly start to inhale all the way up. Drop those blocks down if you've got them in your hands. Let's move into that back bend. So reaching back for the arms. On an inhale, pressing forward through the belly, the ribs, the chest. Lifting that chin, taking a couple deep breaths here. And on an exhale, relaxing that back bend. All right, a little bit of muscle effort here with our pike movement. So straightening out that right leg, hands come behind you on the chair. Really focus on lengthening up through the front of the body and keeping that length the whole time, like chest out. And remember your options. You're going to tuck and try to lift the upper body as well, but you don't even have to do that. You can keep the upper body where it is. That'll be kind of the least challenging, is knee in and then the heel back down. Next level would be tucking and heel down. And then the next level would be tucking and not dropping that heel at all. Let's go for 5 more. 4. Exhaling, maybe pursed lip. Last one. And let's rest that heel down. Come on up. Start to move forward into your forward fold. Blocks. I'm telling you, buy some blocks if you haven't already. I'm sure you can get them on Amazon. And like I said, maybe Target, Walmart, Dick's Sporting Goods, places like that. You can always check the stock online first if you're, don't want to go to the store only to find that they're out, or something like that. So either hands to blocks, hands to thigh, forearms to thigh. Just try to avoid putting any weight into the straight leg. We don't want to stress the knee joint. And if you're not feeling a stretch, somehow you're not feeling anything in the hamstrings, it might be that you're tucking the pelvis. So really try to press that belly button to the thighs. Even just that dynamic will probably correct your pelvic tilt. But you can also think of that tailbone lifting up towards the ceiling. Relax here in your stretch. Just a couple more breaths. And even though you might not want to, because hopefully you're pretty comfy and you're enjoying this stretch, we're going to start to make our way up. So slowly start to lengthen the spine again, start to lift up, coming out of that fold. You can bring those blocks back to the sides. If you're going to use the block and gate pose, this is the one you'll use. So maybe kind of keep it out here. And go ahead and start to open that right leg out to the side. And like I said, if you feel that this thigh is being restricted by the chair, you might want to scoot over to the edge a little bit. Free up that hip. And get ready for gate. So we're going to stretch towards that straight leg. Want that heel down, whole sole of the foot down. And again, if you've got a block, you may want to bring it to the inside or outside. If you don't have a block, hand can be on the hip or maybe the chair behind you, or if there is chair space in front of you, you could do that too. So just trying to keep the chest open, even the dynamic of feeling like you're trying to press the chest up towards the ceiling can really increase the stretch here. So however far you can go, try to hang out here. Easy, deep breaths. Traditionally, you gaze up under, kind of underneath this top arm, but if that tweaks the neck too much, you can just stare straight ahead, or you can even stare down. So whatever feels best on that neck. We don't want to add any tension to the neck when we've been making an effort to release it this class. On an inhale, when you're ready, slowly come up. And exhale, release that arm. Now we're going to move into our high lunge position. So from here, I'm trying to keep that right foot where it is. I'm just going to pivot over and shift over in my chair, come onto the toes there. Sorry my back is to you, but I got the mic so you can still hear me. And so in this high lunge position, remember, we're focusing on stretching the front of the hip. So if you want to release that quad a little bit and you still feel the stretch, go for it. If you want to move into a twist here, go for it as well. Maybe you can't quite reach the chair with that right hand. You can bring that right hand to the outside of the left leg and kind of press against it to help you. So again, lots of options here. Just want to relax as much as possible so the body can receive the stretch. Try to release the shoulders down. Oh yeah. Couple more deep breaths here. Take a deep inhale. On your exhale, release. And we're going to come into goddess pose next, seated goddess. So our legs are almost positioned perfectly for it. Might want to come back to the center of your chair if you were shifted over to the right a bit. You're trying to open out those knees as wide as you can to both sides. And probably already feeling a bit of a stretch in the inner thighs. From here, knees on the hip, or knees on the hips, y'all. Do it. Knees on the hips. Hands on the thighs. Too relaxed. And you can start to just kind of lean forward. Getting that lovely stretch into the hips, into the inner thighs. Now, if you feel like you're worried about falling forward, let's just experiment. Yes, this can work. You can scoot further back in the chair. Yeah, that works. It feels a little more supportive too. So go ahead and shimmy back if you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm on the edge of the chair and you're wanting me to forward fold and my legs are out to the side. You're crazy, Aline. So go ahead and shift back if you need to. Notice my toes are opening out to the sides. That's just helping to open the knees and keep that action of opening. So, yes, you can tell I have found my sweet spot for stretch here. So just leaning forward. This is a great way to passively stretch a lot of the muscles in the hips. You can even experiment here if you do have those blocks, possibly coming into more of a forward fold. That shifts the stretch a little bit. I feel like I have to activate the hips a little more in order to stretch on the inner thighs. So just experiment. I'm not a huge fan of that. Just thought I'd throw it out there. This is what really gets me stretching. All right, y'all, a couple more breaths. Try to keep those shoulders down. When you're ready to come out of it, come on out. Slowly coming back up to seated. We're going to make our way to standing because I would feel terrible if I didn't do any balance work with y'all. But we're just going to do a tree pose on each side and then a nice standing stretch before we come right back down to relax. So get those blocks out of your way. If you would like to come up through chair pose and you have a block, I highly recommend sticking it between the thighs. And it really just helps with the leg activation and alignment of the hips. So, and it's great for the SI joints. That squeeze actually helps kind of open up the space there in the sacrum and really helps the sacrum settle better into the pelvis. Because a lot of women especially sometimes get shiftiness and a little movement in the SI joints, and they'll kind of move out of alignment and can cause a lot of pain back here in this area. In fact, sometimes low back pain is due to SI joint issues. But I'm not trying to diagnose because low back pain could be a million different reasons. So walking those heels back, sitting, swinging those arms forward, leaning the chest forward, come on up, but not straighten the legs. We want to stay in this deep yogic squat. Try to breathe here. Do not tuck the tailbone. Terrible on the low back. We want that tailbone, again, kind of pressing up and out, but we want to stay engaged in the core too. So we're not disengaging. Woo. Breathe here. Slowly, maybe take a breath or even 2 breaths to come up all the way to standing. Deep inhale, reach, and exhale, relax. All right. Let's release that block. Now I'm going to shift my chair forward just a little bit. You don't really need to do that too, but I want you to be able to see me well here. So tree pose, you've got 2 options. For terrible balance people, you're going to face the chair. And I say that lovingly because no one really has like phenomenal balance. Well, I take it back. Some people do. Or if you want to test the balance a little bit more and you feel confident you're not going to fall, sideways to the chair. So for our tree pose, feet start hip width apart. Set your foundation. Engaging the quads. Neutral spine. So again, we're not tucking, but we're not letting this happen. So we're keeping neutral. Engaging in the low belly. Ribs stacked over hips, shoulders, check. So from here, shifting just slightly into that left hip, bending that right knee. You're going to slide that right foot in and open the knee out. So we've done a lot of prep work to allow our bodies to be able to come into this pose today. And this may be where you balance. Maybe you're sending one arm out. So if you're facing the chair, same deal. One hand, maybe alternating, maybe both hands, and you can always quickly come back if you start to fall. If you want a little more challenge, slide that foot up to the calf. Never, ever, ever, I will come through the TV and smack your foot away. Never bring it to the knee. It does seem like a great resting spot there for the foot, but it's terrible for the knee joint. So you can rest here on the calf, or if you're pretty flexible, maybe even heel in towards the inner thigh. So you're holding here in your tree pose, possibly hands together. You're probably falling out of it, coming back into it. That's fine. That's part of the process. Take a little more time here, balancing on the left leg. If your balance is fairly decent, maybe even bringing those arms up overhead. Make sure you're breathing, maybe even smiling. And on an exhale, go ahead and relax. Shake that supporting leg especially, but you can shake both legs out. And let's do the other side. So again, possibly turning sideways or facing the chair. So I'll demo facing just so my back's not to you for the whole time here. And so again, setting the foundation first. That will really help your balance practice, as opposed to just, okay, I'm coming into tree pose without thinking about it. So intentful, mindful movement. Stack it. Good alignment. Engage. Engage. And go ahead and shift a little bit to the right, bending that left knee, making your kickstand first. So you're sliding that left foot so the toes are still on the ground, kind of giving you a little bit of a, like I said, a kickstand effect. Try here first. If you're pretty decent at balancing here, then slide that foot up to the calf or to the inner thigh, but not the knee. And so again, engaged here, that can really help with your balance. It's easy to disengage the abdomen and just kind of forget and kind of dump down, and that makes balance harder. So feel like you're lifting up and out of the leg. Again, possibly the hands can come up overhead. Maybe you're swaying like a tree in the wind. And if you fall out of it, come back to it. It's normal to wobble. It's normal to lose your balance. But hopefully you'll notice over time that that happens less and less as you practice. And as you strengthen the ankles and strengthen the quads and strengthen the calves with your chair yoga practice and anything else you might do like walking and stuff. All right, when you're ready, relax. Shake it out. Let's come to our final standing stretch, a wide-legged forward fold. So just want to get into the inner thighs one more time. So facing the chair, hands on the chair. Start to walk those feet back. Start out at a modest distance first. So maybe about here. I don't even know what that is. Maybe that's like 1.5 feet, 2 feet. And go ahead and just start to heel toe or however you need to step those feet at least shoulder width, maybe even wider apart. And then you're going to start to sink that chest down and poke that butt back. So again, that tilt of the butt up. So if you're here and you're like, oh, I don't really feel that, you have a couple options. Maybe bring those feet wider apart. Or, again, working on just the tilt of the pelvis. Because, again, if you're tucking like this, you can see my back's rounding a little bit. I don't feel a stretch at all in my inner thighs. or my hamstrings. But same body position, check out my pelvis. I'm just going to press my belly button down. I'm opening my hips back. Hopefully you can kind of see that. And now I feel that stretch. If you're pretty flexible, this is another great place to use your blocks, because you can bring those hands down to your blocks. Yeah. Feel free to shift a little bit side to side here if you would like to. So even if you don't have blocks, you can do that. Just kind of shifting the stretch. And also, if you're in agony right now, like Aline, I hate you, that kind of makes the time go by a little faster. All right, when you're ready to come out of this, come up slowly. So if you do have hands on blocks, come back to the chair. Start to lift the head and chest. Start to walk those feet back in, maybe heel toe, so you're keeping contact with the ground. And then walk those feet back in under you. And congratulations, you have made it to seated again. I think we have time for one more stretch, because I did want to do a bit of a longer Shavasana today. The king of all hip stretches, seated pigeon pose. So remember your options here. We've done this one several times, but if this is your first time joining, welcome to pigeon pose. So your options are ankle crosses over ankle, knee releases to the side. If you can manage it, definitely want to try to cross ankle over knee. So crossing like so, knee to the side, although you may be a little more like this, depending on how tight you are in the hip area. You may want to try to take your hand and just kind of gently apply a little pressure, never to the knee, just to the thigh here. But wherever you end up, wherever you're crossing, go ahead and start to just hinge forward until you feel the stretch. And you will feel it. Try to keep the spine long here. So again, and play around with it. Round your spine. I can touch my forehead to my leg almost, and I feel nothing in my hip right now. No stretch. But I can come up to almost upright, barely hinge forward, but with my spine long, I feel that. So here, I feel the stretch. Here, I feel nothing. So it just shows you it's not about how far you can fold. You got to keep that spine long, and it's all about the mechanics in the hips. Oh, yeah. Try not to put any weight in that knee. Take some nice deep breaths. Notice what comes up in this stretch. Again, I've been in yoga classes where I'm doing deep inner thigh and hip stretches. I'll just start to get angry. It's interesting. The theory in yoga is that you hold the seat of your emotions is in your hips. And the second chakra is a lot about that. Emotion, and all of that. But physiologically, we do have more nerve endings in this area, the base of the spine, than almost anywhere else. And so I feel like it's almost like a second brain, except it's our deep, unknown brain. And so we harbor who knows what there that maybe comes out when we release physical tension. All right, that's enough. It was a lot. Don't worry, we'll do the same on the other side. So relax, maybe shake it out. Do the other side. So again, crossing ankles, or if you're able to, crossing at the thigh. Remember not to press into that knee. Remember to try to keep length in the spine. And again, it's about folding the navel towards the thighs, not how far I can get my head or my hands down. just go until you hit that edge where you've seen me and maybe laughed at me like, ah, yes, there it is. But that should really be the feel that you get. Or it might be more like a, oh, yeah, there it is. Oh. But that's part of my job as your instructor is to have you do things you might never do on your own, helping you explore that territory, push your boundaries in a safe and effective way. Hopefully, even though I can't actually see you right now. Hang out here. We've got a little ways to go in this stretch. Notice too, since we're holding this longer than normal, if you can possibly go a little deeper after you've been holding it for a few breaths. Your body might be opening up a little and you can actually realize you can hinge a little further. And just try to focus on deep, full breaths. Got a little more to go in our hold. We want to make sure we release just as much tension from this side as we did on the other side. Take about 2 more deep, full inhales and exhales. And on your third inhale, maybe hang out there one more breath. And then on an inhale, slowly come up, uncross that leg, and go ahead and just recline back. So you might actually be ready to do that. Maybe just reclining in your chair for Shavasana, perhaps moving over to your couch or somewhere where you can lay on the ground comfortably. If you're able to lay on the ground, maybe you're a little bit more flexible and able-bodied, you might want to consider coming into a reclined cobbler's pose. We've done so much good stuff for the hips. So you may, oh gosh, I keep forgetting about this microphone box here. You may be able to come down and possibly using blocks or not. You can wedge pillows or whatever under there and just in a reclined cobbler. So if you can't quite see my feet, my soles of my feet are touching. I'm walking those heels in towards me and then just trying to open those knees out to the side. So you can rest here. That'll be a wonderful Shavasana if you're able to get to the ground. Otherwise, you're just relaxing wherever you can manage. You know what? Since I'm down here, I'm just going to stay down here if y'all don't mind. If you're using the chair, just try to relax as much as you can. Release as much muscle tension as possible. And so go ahead and close your eyes, and we'll just go through a very brief yoga nidra, just kind of relaxation technique. And so for this technique, I will guide you through different parts of your body that you will just focus on and then release. So first, trying to let go of any tension in the body, trying to let go of any effort of control over your breathing. Crown of the head, forehead, right eyebrow, left eyebrow, right eye, left eye, right cheek, left cheek, right ear, left ear, upper lip, lower lip, chin, throat, right shoulder, left shoulder, right upper arm, left upper arm, right forearm, left forearm, right hand, left hand, right side of the chest, left side of the chest, right rib cage, left rib cage, back of the rib cage, abdomen, front of the right hip, front of the left hip, back of the right hip, back of the left hip, right thigh and upper leg, left thigh and upper leg, right lower leg, left lower leg, right ankle, left ankle, right foot, left foot, the whole body. Relax here a little longer with whatever sensations you're feeling. Just beginning to bring awareness without movement. Noticing the air touching your skin. Any part of your skin that isn't covered by clothing. Just beginning to feel again your body space. Notice the points of contact along the back of your body and whatever you're laying or sitting on. Begin to notice your heart beat. Begin to notice the rise and fall of your chest as you breathe. And then begin to bring movement back. First, just fuller movement to the rib cage, deeper inhales and exhales. And then movement back to the fingers and the toes. And rolling perhaps the ankles and the wrists. And if you're in this reclined cobbler's pose that I'm in, just really slowly and maybe even using your hands, kind of press your knees back together. And if you are reclining in any way, or even semi-reclining in your chair, see if you can stretch out long, reaching between fingers and toes. Just finding as much length as you can. And then slowly, if you're on your back, rolling over to one side, or if you're seated, coming up to an upright seated position. And if you're reclined and you want to come up to seated, pressing into your top hand, maybe keeping the eyes closed or at least the eyelids heavy. Just coming up to an upright seated position. Drawing the palms together in front of the heart, thumbs tapping into that heart space. Thank you so much for joining me in today's practice. The light and love in me recognizes that in you. Namaste. When you're ready, you can blink open your eyes. I hope you enjoyed today's practice. I hope you feel a sense of just calm and openness. And I hope you can keep that with you for a long time, at least until I see you again for the next class. Thank you so much again. If you have any questions, you know you can always reach out to me. I'll see you next time. Bye.